Today it's about good and evil. Yes, it's a very old problem. And I would like to start with the character for good. And another thing is that I will try to slow down, to be very gentle and slow, and also to have a break in the middle, around in 1 hour time. So a short break of 5 minutes, 7 minutes. So, which will be between the two parts, because in fact, we will start with the character because it gives the first idea of what it is. And after that, I will look at this concept of good mainly in a Confucian approach text. It's the first part. Then after the break, we can see how it is understood in another way, from another perspective, in the proto-Taoist, early Taoist text, and with some other text from later. So now, starting with the character itself, sure, you can see I put this character SHAN, and I put some of the ancient form of this character, and here also. In fact, it is made in two parts. The upper part, this part that you can see here or here, like that, is a sheep. So the modern form, or modern for 25 centuries, sorry, I don't know how to stop this, sorry. Okay, it will stop. Okay. Sorry. Too many things. How to stop FaceTime on the computer? Okay. So this part is a sheep, and the ancient form for the sheep are, for instance, like that you may recognize easily as part of the character SHAN, and mainly characterized by the horns, these kind of big horns. And it's interesting because the sheep was important in early Chinese civilization. It was a cattle, it was a fat, big sheep, was a sign of a good fortune. It was what was being killed and given in a festin, in a good meal, in a banquet, to honor guests, or when there is a kind of important meeting. And for instance, these characters for the sheep will also be part of another character, which will have, and especially in Confucianism, some relationship with what is good, and which is the character E of what is right, between what is right and what is good. The difference sometimes is not so big. So this character E, very often translated as righteousness, right principle, right minded, is one of the great Confucian virtues. And you can see in its character for E, the upper part is also the image of a sheep. We will come back on that a little bit later. So, and the other part in this character, SHAN, good, is twice the word for the speech, in ancient form, something like that you may recognize easily in the character. So, and when we have once the speech, it is just the speech, the word to say something. But when we have two of them, as for instance in the character, so we have two speeches, two words, and they may easily be opposed. And so this twice the word forms the character thing, which is to quarrel, to wrangle, to have a kind of argument, not to agree on. So now, when we have the sheep with two people arguing, quarreling, so how can we get this meaning of good? So we may find some interpretation in modern books or Chinese books, not linguistic, but as, for instance, sheep-like words, good. Most probably, in fact, at the beginning, it was a kind of good meal which was offered to reconciliate people when we disagree. So, and when we reconciliate, very often we do that around a kind of table. We take together a meal and so on, and of course, with the best of the sheep. So, and this character for the sheep is for good, as you say here. If you add a character as flesh or as eaten here, you have a meaning of a fine meal, savory dishes. And so most probably at the beginning, this notion, this concept of SHAN was in fact offering a good meal by killing a fat sheep for celebrating the reconciliation between two people or two clans. So to re-establish harmony, to solve the quarrel, and bring peace. So this character SHAN, good, means in fact very often good, favorable, excellent, benevolent. In fact, when it is taken in philosophical text, it will very often carry the meaning of action, behavior deriving from inner moral power. But the problem will be, how do I have this inner moral power? How do I know that it is the right one, from where it is coming? And then we will have several diverging opinions. But in the same time, this character SHAN will also be linked to the idea of what is good for the common good, what is advantageous, appropriate, in good term, you be in good term with. So, to do good for and to be good at. It's not exactly an abstract concept. It's not an abstraction, and we will see that. It's always to be good at, to excel at, to be inclined to be good for, and most probably also, we will see in very early text, a kind of common good. What is good is, in fact, to be beneficial for the family, for the clan, for the country, the state. So, and in fact, how do I know that my behavior or my action are good? Because the results are excellent. It is harmony and peace. It is a kind of order in the society, and that will be very strong in the early use of this character SHAN, and in the building of this kind of morality or determination of good. And another time, here we will have some kind of relationships with the proper righteousness. So proper righteousness, yes. Sure, because as Paul Kuhl put very, very, very nicely in this classical dictionary, so it's a dutifulness, especially of responsibility and appropriate action on to one's acknowledged group, which is the lower part of the character. You have the sheep above, and and us, we below. Us the people, we the people. So we as a group, we as a function of one's proper social relations and status. Socially conscious and responsible, devoted to the good of one's family, clan, and state. In fact, it is this virtue, this Confucian virtue of righteousness, of E, you know. And so with all this kind of linked with good behavior, appropriate behavior, appropriate, advantageous, you see, we have a kind of common place for these two terms. Now, which is quite normal when SHAN as good is related to moral behavior, has to be related to what is right to be done, you know? Yeah. So now, if now we enter in text, I put on the first page of the handout, page 1, and I will go in a kind of order, try not to jump from one page to another one, or not too much. So I put some quotes from the Shooting, the book of document, which is one of the most ancient texts written in Chinese, you know, and before Confucius, of course, but of course, in this kind of a vision of life that we will find a lot as the origin and basis of what will become the Confucianism. So, and now, in this text, in fact, we will have several things coming together, which is that what is good is a kind of something which is inside of me, but not only coming from me, but coming from heaven. For instance, the way of heaven, Tao, so is to bless the good, or to bless the good, or those who are good, or who are doing good, the good men, the men of good will, if you like, you know. So, and so, in fact, if the way of heaven, if heaven represents the natural order, the ones who are good are those who are able to establish and maintain also the natural order in themselves and in the society, in their kingdom. Yeah, sure. And we have this kind of judgment, yes. The way of heaven is to bless the good and to make the bad miserable. Yes, when somebody, for instance, even the emperor, for instance, the emperor of the Xia, also written like that, the Xia dynasty is a tyrant and with a bad behavior, unable to do good for his people, so heaven will send down calamities on them, of him, on his dynasty, and of course, make manifest his guilt, his wrongdoing, his fault, and in fact, he will be no more the emperor, another dynasty will come. So, and here also we have in the same chapter, Tankao, the good in you, I will not dare to keep concealed, and for the evil with the meaning of wrong behavior, of wrongdoing, a fault, an error, a kind of an offense, a crime, wrongful conduct, leading to the conviction of someone and condemnation. So the evil in me, I will not dare to forgive myself. But what is important, I will examine these things in harmony with the mind of God. Of course, in Leg's translation, James Leg's translation, who was a priest or chaplain of the 19th century, yeah, it was a normal translation. Nowadays, if we want to translate in a more modern way, we may see the mind, the heart, mind of Shakti, the sovereign from above, which is the name of the very superior deities, the big ancestor at that time. So we are here in something happening in the 11th century BC or something like that, you know. So, which is a way to say what I may declare is good. It's not something that I may just say it is good because I say that it is good. It's always the same problem. I cannot by myself say that is good, that is bad. I need to have some kind of a supreme authority, either by the name of heaven or by the old name of Shakti, the sovereign, the emperor from above, the supreme deity. So, which represent life, the order, the natural order, all what makes life good for anyone and everyone, which benefits to everyone. Because, and we will come back to that with the Taoism, how can I be sure to benefit to absolutely everyone? That's a problem. So, and how can I call something good if it is not absolutely good? If it is good for some and not good for others. So, and sure, it's so we also see that, we will come back on that, but if I take the Pranken chapter, it will say, I will make no distinction between men as being more distantly or more nearly related to me. The criminal, in this matter, shall die the death, and the good doer, SHAN, shall have his virtue distinguished. Another character, another concept, which is very closely linked with SHAN, is the one of virtue, of the. So, or either potency, but here more a kind of good behavior, moral virtue, how do you say that? Firm character, yeah. So we will see that very often because it's the same kind of reasoning. How something or someone can be good if it is not also to be alike or to be aligned with the inner potency which is in anyone or has to be in anyone for the development of life, and which is also the inner moral power. Now, another thing is that here we can see the text. I put in bold all the English words which translate SHAN. Therefore, it's good, but it is also good doer, or good behavior, or good qualities, or good men, or good deeds, because, as I said, good is not an abstraction, it is something which is really in the fact. So, in the action which is really seen with the result, And as also, if I take the text here, shall you eat? There is no invariable model of virtue. There is no virtue as the. So, a supreme regard to what is good gives a model of it. how do we know how to behave and to do good? Because we know what will be the result of it. There is no invariable characteristic of what is good. That is to be supremely regarded. It is found when there is a conformity to the uniform consciousness. So, in regard to what is good. So another time, in fact, it means that, so we cannot say what is good forever. Things are good now, in this time, in these circumstances, so in this surrounding, with this situation and condition, but that will not be the good behavior to have in another time or in other circumstances. So you see, there is nothing, even in a very classical, very ancient text, to say that is good. No, it's always related to how we can re-establish concord and harmony, a peaceful and good relationship between people, the order in the society, and the good government in the situation in which we are now. So, and that will be good. You know? As very often, as it said in this text of the Yueming, so we will have the good or bad linked to the government, and it will be good government and bad government. I put it in bold, even if we don't have the character SHAN, which is the character G for good government, which is to maintain the natural order in the society, and bad government, which is this character LAN, so not to be able to maintain this order and to have disorder, opposition, conflict everywhere. So, and in the last quote of this page 1, say, acts of goodness, which is SHAN, as I said, the translation of SHAN, are different, as we just said, but they contribute in common to good order. It's the main thing is for the society, for the community to arrive to the order and the harmony. And this is very linked with, of course, the etymology of the character too. An act of evil, what is malevolent and highly unpleasant, either immorally or physically, in appearance or in behavior. So they are also different, but they contribute in common disorder, one, so in the society. So now, if we read other texts, for instance, in the Juntiotsu Chuan, which is another very old text, so we will have something also at the likeness. We will have the same kind of things, with most probably also this idea that to be good at is, for instance, to be good at maintain a good government, and certainly we already have to be good at ritual, as ceremonial, as proprieties, the proper behavior in any circumstances, which is the basis in ancient China of the social order of, and that will be, of course, at the core also of what is developed by Confucius. So, and this is same. So I will just have the effect, we always have the effect of bad government, good men, if I take in the Duke Zhao 7 years, page 2 of the handout, that it shows the effect of a bad government when there is not good government in a state and good men are not employed. It brings reproof to itself for the calamity of the sun and moon. So, you see, always the same thing. It's, I will say something which is very practical, has to be incarnated, has to be in the fact. So, and also, because we will come back on that in other text, this last text of the page 2 from Duke Yao, 13 years, Duke Zhao, sorry, 13 years, he followed what was good, like a flowing stream, character Lyon. So he could descend to the good and was grave and reverent. So condescended to the good is Lake's translation. We may translate slightly differently. Sure. And was grave and reverent. He did not accumulate his wealth. He did not follow his desires. He gave away unwearyingly, and he was never tired of seeking for good men. What is not right, that which has conditioned it should have the state, so to become the ruler of the states. But what is it I want to say here is, he followed what was good like a flowing stream. And so here we have another aspect related to the source of good in us. Do we follow good because we have a propensity naturally to follow what is good, or do we follow what is good because we are educated to see that that is good? And so, or do we follow what is good because we have eliminated everything, for instance, desires and will and self-interest, or and so and we are only committed to the common good, or the good for life. So, and here we cannot decide exactly here, but it's certainly something as there is in a human a propensity to follow good, or to be able to come back to these states, or to build these states of following what is good like a flowing stream, just to go with the current, with the course of things. So, and but it's I will jump to the page 5. Yeah, coming back after that to Confucius, because page 5, if you take the second text of page 5, since a great Confucian thinker of the 3rd century BCE, so a text that we find also in the Liti, in the Book of Right. You see, whenever one-time sounds arouse, one-time sound, it's really sounds full of bad thing and disorder, so arouse a person, so just stimulate something in the person, a perverse chi responds to them from within. What is translated here by perverse chi is not the same character that we have in the medical text translated as perverse, but the character ni that is normally translated by rebellious chi. So, which means that there is a chi which is not following the right order and the right path, So, a chi which is against the natural order of the action, the movement of chi. So there is here, it's a chi which is against the movement of life. The chi responds to them from within. When this ni chi, this perverse chi takes form, then chaos, so disorder, results from it. Disorder inside the person, as well as inside what is under the responsibility of this person, for instance, his family, or his clan, or his country. So, But when the proper sounds, and here the character for proper is the same that what is translated, for instance, by correct, in correct chi in medical text. Sounds, proper sounds, correct sounds, arouse a person, a compliant chi responds to them from within. Compliant is the character should, which is exactly opposed to ni. Should is what obeys and follows the natural order. It is made on the left of these three strokes that you see. It is the river course. It is the natural movement of the water flowing towards the sea, to follow the current, to follow the course, the natural course of things. So, a compliant chi responds to them from within. So it is a chi which are following exactly the natural movement which they ought to have. When this compliant chi takes form, then good order and good government result from it everywhere in the person and in the society. Those singing the lead and those chiming in match each other, and goodness or badness, so SHAN, in people both resemble this, which is in fact here a way to say that in fact according to the education, to the environment, to the milieu, to the society and so on, someone may be good or bad, may do good thing or bad thing, his chi will be in order and encourage order, good order everywhere, or encourage disorder, bad order, and badness. So, which is also something that I put at the end of this page 5 in a text from the Lunrung of the 1st century AD, for translation. He said, the characteristic or nature, the inborn nature, the original nature of average people is a work of habit. Made familiar with good, they turn out good. Accustomed to evil, they become wicked. Only with extremely good or extremely bad characters, habit is of no avail. Therefore, Confucius holds that only highly cultivated and grossly ignorant people cannot be changed, their natures being either good or otherwise. The influence of sages and the teaching of wise men is important to work a change. So, see, here we have this question of that I didn't want to enter in because we don't have time, but of the human nature. So, and for instance, of the different view of Sinze, Mencius, and others about the human nature, if the human nature is good or bad originally. So I will not enter like that. But of course, when we have good and bad, we come back at least a little bit to this question. Do we have in a human a natural tendency to the good, a natural reasoning to the good, or not so much? Okay, so I said what we have here is this Confucian approach, or rather Confucian approach, which is not entirely on one side, depends of the approach. Now, if before the break, if I want to look at the Confucius approach itself as in the Lunyu and the Analect of Confucius, so what is in fact what we found in the Lunyu is sure that heaven is always a reference, and heaven is what is a guarantee of what is good. And also good is always to be a good man, to be good at, to have good qualities, to do good things, you know, as I said, always. So with this kind of approach. Now, in Confucius, we have, as I said, this not exactly similarity, but this that these two concepts of SHAN, good, and E, righteousness, being quite close. And so we can see that what is good, what is the deeds of good men, is always related to what is appropriate to be done for a kind of common good. And we have in what is good, in the presentation of what is good, not only something which is on the moral side, the moral connotation, but also which is social and even religious, ritual, ceremonial, and so on. So that we have, so in what is good, a kind of sense of appropriateness, you know, what is appropriate, what's enable, what is an action is good when it is the right way to answer the situation, a specific situation, and of course, the ritual proprieties are never very far because it is through the understanding and respect of Li, which is for next time, of ritual propriety, that we are able to understand the good behavior, the good deed. So, and so if we look now at the text themselves, so we can see always the master said, if I take the first page 3, the first quote of the Lunyu, 721, the master said, when I walk along with two others, they may serve me as my teachers. I will select their good qualities, they're good, and follow them. Their bad qualities, what is not good, and avoid them, you know, which is that there is, in fact, for Confucius, in a human being, the ability to recognize what is good and what is not good inside the people, or looking at the effect of their action. So, but of course, to learn from the ancient change will also enable me to recognize what is good, to build my kind of moral sense. So, as we said in the next quote, he said in the next quote, 8:13, with sincere faith, he unites the love of learning. Holding firm to death, he is perfecting the excellence of discourse. Shan Tao, the good Tao. So Tao here being not the Tao of the Taoism, but the course of things, life as it goes, you know, and doing it with good, to behave according to what I am, and good, with excellence, to be good at following the course of my life, of course, is the same thing to perfect the Tao, to be good at following its way, one's way. So, and always, of course, in Confucius, we come back on the government. Good government is the one which is made by good men, and the man is good because he's able to understand how to behave, to follow the way of life, to follow its own destiny, its own nature. So, okay, And of course, after that, after a while, even whatever is your own nature, if I take the last quote of this page 3, so we have a kind of spontaneous attraction for what is good and spontaneous repulsion for what is not good. So Confucius said, contemplating good and pursuing it as if they could not reach it, contemplating evil and shrinking from it as the wool from thrusting their hand into boiling water. I have seen such men, and I have heard such words. Living in retirement to study their aim and practicing righteousness to carry out their principle, their Tao. I have heard this word, but I have not seen such men. So the good here appear as being a little bit more in what is actual, what is performed in the everyday life. So now we may take a short break of 5 minutes.
Oui, il y a 2 questions que les gens ont posées.
Alors, je vais, oui, d'accord.
Tu regardes ou tu veux que je te les dise?
Je les regarde.
De Simona et de Jeanne.
Ah, yes. Hold it firm to death. Oh, yes. Hold it firm to death is that in the Confucian view, it's very important to be very strong from inside. You know, to be able to hold of what we think is the right thing to be done, even at the price of his own life. The courage is a Confucian virtue, you know. And
il y a une question de Simona, est-ce que c'est sur le I?
Alors, attends, j'ai pas vu Simona, je ne l'ai pas.
Juste avant.
Je ne l'ai pas. I, Simona, j'ai pas la question de Simona.
Ah ben, je vais te le dire. Is E, she refers to related as the all with the E, the spirit of spleen.
No, 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 no. It's a totally different character. No, no, there is no relationship at all in Chinese. It's a totally different character, and of course there is some relation, because both may have a meaning sense, but as characters and concept, they are not really related.
Okay, thank you.
Because there is I know there is several hundred of characters by the pronunciation of he. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So you take a 5 minutes break.
Okay. À tout de suite.
À tout de suite. And he said, I am good at handling horses. I know how to do something good. I am good in handling horses. And so I will handle the horses, he announced, and proceeds to singe them, shave them, pare them, brand them, bind them with martingale and crupper, tie them up in stable and stall. By this time, 2 or 3 out of 10 horses have died. He goes on to starve them, make them to go thirsty, raise them, brand them, pull them into line, force them to run side by side, in front of them the worry of bit and rain. Behind them the terror of whip and crop. By this time, over half the horses have died, and that was even before to go to war. So which is said here is, yes, I am good at doing something. And I think that it is good, and I do for the good of. And in fact, because it's my own good, the result is a calamity for the horses, for the very things I said I was good at. You know? So this is this kind of approach. So the one who doesn't have a total vision of life, and to have this total vision, we need not to have any specific vision, not to try to have any specific knowledge, but to just remove from us all what is a blinder, all what is an obstacle with the source of life. And so when that is done, in this case, what comes from us is really good. So, because if I come back to the etymology of SHAN, to be good, to have this kind of meal, good meal with a fat sheep, to reconciliate. So after a quarrel, so perhaps better not to have any quarrel. How that will be good? So if I take the Tao Te Ching, chapter 79, page 7, it's to make peace. Yeah, we establish a harmony, to make peace where there has been a great resentment. There is bound to be a resentment left over. How could this be regarded as good? Of course, it's certainly better than not to make peace at all. But how do you call that good? Because it is not really the fullness of life, So there is still some resentment. And it's the reason why the sage holds the right tally, yet makes no demand to other, and so on. So has to have an other attitude, an attitude in which there will be no dispute, no contestation, no struggle, pujan, don't struggle, don't dispute, don't contest, don't argue. So, which is one of the leitmotifs of the Tao Te Ching. So, and in this case, yes, you are in a good from the beginning and you don't need to repair anything. Everything which is repaired is not as good as if it was never broken. So, and so, which is this idea. What I call good, said the Tao Te Ching, is not some kind of repair. No, it has to be what is totally in the fullness of life. So, and which is in fact to be able to follow the natural course of life. So, and if I come back in the next page, 8, on Chuan Tzu, so it is what we have, in fact, for instance, in the chapter 16 of Chuan Tzu. They speak of not exactly of the origin of evil, but kind of. If life is perfect, if the Tao is a Tao, if the virtue is a virtue, if everything is fine, how could we have this disaster right now in the human society, in the humankind? So explaining the decline of this natural life. So in the Chuan Tzu chapter 16, it said, virtue, so vital potency, continue to dwindle and decline. And then Yao and Shun, legendary emperor of ancient time, stepped forward to take charge of the world. They wanted to govern well. They set about in various fashions to order and transform the world, and in doing so, defile purity and shattered simplicity, the uncarved block. The way was put apart for the sake of goodness. And here we have, SHAN, which is taken, we say in a Confucian meaning. So people say, I know how to do that. I am good in doing that. I am good in governing. I am good in taking care of Francis. I am good at that. And so I will do good. So no, it's not because you are good at something that it is good to do it. So, and you have your own definition of good and goodness, and virtue was in peril for the sake of conduct. So, and so after that, we will continue to decline. After this, inborn nature was abandoned, and minds were set free at home. So, which is that if we come back to our original nature, we will come back to something which is behind what is called good as opposed to bad. We will come back to just the spontaneity, the SHAN, the spontaneous manifestation of life in me. So, and so even in the Chapter 26, they said, discard little wisdom and great wisdom will become clear. Clear being this character being that we saw last time. Yeah. Discard goodness and goodness will come of itself. So, as in SHAN, we will have a SHAN, a good effect which comes from the spontaneous behavior of the one who has succeeded in eliminating all kinds of emotion, desire, passion, ambition, and so on, and even forgetting knowledge, wisdom or knowledge, we may translate by knowledge. So, the little child learns to speak, so it has no learned teachers, because it lives with those who know how to speak. So we are in nature, we're not to live in nature and to learn from nature, as a little child learns to speak. Okay, we may agree or not with that, it's another question. So, and if I want to remain a little bit with Chaucer, I will say that, so, sure, the one who is really the sage, the man of virtue here, the man of the full real life potency, vital potency of the Tao, so, as it is described in the chapter 12 of Chaucer, rest without thought, moves without plan, forget to put the character. He has no use for right and wrong, beautiful and ugly. And here, it's a Watson translation, translate SHAN by beautiful. He may have translated by good and bad, But as I told you, there is a lot of connection also in SHAN with aesthetic. So, as the beauty as one of the foundation of the moral sense and doing meaning to morality. We have a little bit in Abraham Kant, Immanuel Kant in the West. So, but yeah, so it's SHAN, good and bad, if you like. So he's behind good and bad, not exactly as Nietzsche, of course, but yeah, because it doesn't have any meaning at all. He is what he is, this man of virtue. So, and it doesn't mean to be good or bad. So, it means to be just what he is. Yeah. To share profit with all things within the forces is his happiness. To look after their needs is his peace. But still, we have also this kind of universal effect of this kind of behavior. Now, if I would like to return a little bit to the Tao Te Ching on page 6 and 7, so starting with page 7, the Tao Te Ching 27, top of page 7, yeah. So we have a lot of being good at. So, and in Henry's translation, the good traveler, The one who is good in traveling leaves no track behind. The good speaker speaks without blemish or flaw. The good counter doesn't use tallies or chips. The good closer of doors does so without bolt or lock, and yet the door cannot be opened. The good tire of notes ties without rope of cord, and yet his notes cannot be undone. So, therefore, the sage is constantly good at saving men and never reject anyone. And so, we understand what it means here. Sure, the good traveler is not exactly the one who is good at traveling because he knows how to travel, because he has learned or seen and so on. So, the one who is good in traveling, he is good in traveling because he is one with the Tao, with the movement of life, with the vital potency. And so he is good at whatever he does. So, and of course, he does not leave no track behind. So, which is not exactly the definition of the good traveler normally, So, or if you like, for instance, how can we close a door without a bolt or a lock? We cannot. But in fact, we cannot close a door according to the vulgar or common way to understand closing the door. But if you are really good and really good at closing doors, you don't use all of that. You don't use words to speak or to express yourself. You don't use rope of cord to tie knots. It's a way to say we are not in this kind of behavior. So we are in a good which comes from the intimacy, the companionship with the way. And so it is the same, in fact, in some way. The good traveler is also the good speaker or the good counter or the good closer of doors or the good tire of notes. They are not experts or specialists, each of its things. It's the opposite. It's the one who can be good at all of that because he is good at the way. He is good in being in the way. Yeah. And so it is also the only way to be good for everyone, saving men and never rejects anyone. So, because it doesn't have recipes or techniques to save men or to be good with men or to govern men. So he's beyond that. But what he does is exactly what has to be done to to stimulate, to help the growing of life, of natural life in anyone. And with things, he never rejects useful goods. This is called doubly bright. I will not make a commentary on that. We have no time. So, therefore, the good man is a teacher of the good. Yes, there is several texts here. So I have several versions of the text. So you may have various translations according to the text that you take as the basis, the manuscript. So there is differences here between text in the Tao Te Ching. So you may have slightly different translation, but the meaning is rather the same, doesn't change really the meaning. Therefore, the good man is a teacher of the good man, and the bad man is the raw material for the good. So, or the good man. So, whatever you are, good or bad, so the good man, the one who is good like that, the good man of the Tao, of the way, is good for you. Yeah. Okay. And it's something that we will find also in the chapter 49 of the Tao Te Ching. The sage constantly has no set mind, doesn't have a constant mind, so doesn't have a fixed idea or a definite knowledge or a definition of good or bad and sad. He takes the mind of the common people as his mind. Those who are good, he regards are good. Those who are not good, he also regards as good. In this way, he attained goodness. Yeah? Can we close your mic, please? Can you close your mic? Can you shut your mic off? Please.
בסדר. סבלנות. לא, אני מדברת על נושא שפחות מעניין אותי, אז... כן. טוב, יש משהו בלבנון.
כן, יש שם איזשהו קיצור.
Ok. Yossi, ça va? C'est bien? Bon. Okay. Sure. Here also we may have some variation in the text. For instance, in the Chinese here we have the de. You may have a translation. Instead of in its way attains goodness, to say because the virtue is good or the vital potency is good. So it's a variation in the text also. But we are exactly the same thing. And interesting here, we have the same thing for the given word. Yeah, the good faith. So those who are trustworthy, he trusts. And those who are not trustworthy, he also trusts. In this way, he gets their trust. Or because the virtue, the vital potency, is trustworthy. You know, sure. Which is, so here we have this kind of good. We do not regard as good something which is good, but also what is not good. There is no difference, because what I do doesn't come from my judgment of good or not good, but comes from what is in the depths of myself. So, and it's exactly what we have, for instance, at the end of page 6 in the Tao Te Ching chapter 8, you know? The highest good is like water. Water is good at benefiting the 10,000 things, and yet it does not compete with them, as I say. Don't compete, don't struggle, don't contest or whatever. So, and sure, water is good at benefiting the 10,000 things. What is good is beneficial, you know, but always there is an effect of it. But when the water, as we saw that with the way of water, when the water is acting in non-acting without any kind of purpose, just benefiting to all the beings or all the 10,000 things by coming down from above, you know. And so just and coming down from above on the good and the not good, you know, as it is said in the other text, on the garden of the good man as well as on the garden of the bad man, you know, doesn't make any differences. Because if I start to make differences with what I think is good or what I estimate is worthy to receive something good, so I am already in a separate from the movement of life, from the way of life. And so, always for the water, it dwells in places the masses of people detest, but so which is a low place, the gutters and sand. Therefore, it is close to the way. So, if the water descends, and the normal nature of water is to go down, the water accepts to go very low and to be in the low places. And the people, they don't like to be in low places. And of course, after that, another time, the good, the one who is good or acting good, or the water, which is an example of that, is good absolutely at anything. You know? In dwelling, the good thing is the land. In the mind, the good thing is the depth, and you have everything like that. All this a theory of 8 to be good at, which is not, as I said already, for instance, for the chapter 27, kind of specialities. No, it is the opposite of to be an expert in something. It is to be good at everything. You know? So we have in the Tao Te Ching and in this kind of sensitivity, early Taoist sensitivity, this kind of approach of the good that is just not one good or to be good at, but to come back to the original nature, and so to be good at anything we can do, and to do good to absolutely everything and everyone. Page 9, it is something which is also well expressed in the Huayianzi, the 2nd century BCE. So it's a major translation, good translation. When spirit illumination, Shen Ming, is established in the world, then minds, heart, revert to their original state. When minds revert to their original state, then people's nature become good. People's nature become good or are good or revert to the good, you know, become, there is nothing in the Chinese text, but in English we need to have something. So when people's nature become good, so when they are turned to be good, they are followed by heaven and earth and by yin-yang. Wealth then becomes sufficient. When wealth becomes sufficient, the people are respectful. Covetousness, pity-mindedness, anger, and competition have no occasion to arise. From this, one can see that under these circumstances, there is no need for humanness and rightness, for the E and the Gen, which are the Confucian basic virtue. You know? So now I would like to, yes, I still have 5 minutes. But before to finish here, I will come back to the sheets. I did not have time to go through, but in the sheets, page 4, the sheets being the great commentary of the Book of Change, the I Ching, the text of the 3rd century BC for the sheets. And so we will have, I don't know what we do. In 1.5, first part, line 5, of paragraph 5, the reciprocal process of yin and yang is called Tao. So, as a life process by yin yang. That which allows the Tao to continue to operate is human goodness. You know? In fact, in David Lin translation, he adds the character human. We just have Shan, but it is the meaning. Shan is the human goodness. And so it is here, in here, that the one who is able to follow the course of things through the yin-yang is the one who is good, who is doing good. And so, and that which allows it to bring things to completion is human nature. And of course, to equal human nature with goodness, human goodness is, in fact, to be sure that everything continues to be operate according to the natural order and to bring completion everything through the inner realization of the human being. And if we continue in the next paragraph, in capaciousness and greatness, change corresponds to heaven and earth. In the way change achieves the complete fulfillment, change corresponds to the 4 seasons. In terms of the concept of yin-yang, so change corresponds to the sun and moon, and in the efficacy, and here it is SHAN, which is translated by efficacy because of the proximity with the virtue, and the efficacy of its ease and simplicity, change correspond to the perfect virtue. So, and here another time we have in the efficacy the goodness of ease and simplicity, which is a double action of heaven and earth, the easiness of heaven and simplicity of earth. So this is what is called the perfect virtue or vital potency. So, and you see another time, in fact, corresponding to all the change and transformation, to the 4th season, yin-yang, and so on, we have the way by the goodness, the man heart, the human heart, mind, is able to continue normally without any bad thing happening, to continue the process of life. So now I want to return to the last page, to the page 9. So when I put finally 2 texts, that you have, that comes from later, from later also. For instance, Joe Dooney is from the 11th century, from the 11th century AD, and Wang Yongming is from the 14th century AD. So we are more than 1,000 years after all these texts. Sure, just to give you an idea of kind of evolving. And Joe Dooney is, for instance, in being authentic, there is no deliberate action. In incipience, and I said because for those who did webinar on incipience, there is good and evil. So which is, ways to say, inside the innermost of the mind, the heart mind of every human, it is in the incipience that we have the swing between what is good and what is evil. So I just put that for those who follow the incipience because it's just interesting. And also, I wanted to give you just a little bit of what we have in Wang Yongming. Wang Yongming, which is the founder of and main representative of what is called the School of the Heart Mind, and it is of the, I say, 15th century. In fact, he died in the beginning of the 16th century AD, of course. And he, so, and he was very good. His main thing was to defend the intuition of the heart mind and the intuition of the good. That in the heart mind, we have intuitively a kind of tendency for the good. Yeah. And you can read without explanation because I think it's very understandable. So it said, it says a question then. Why does the learning of the great man consist in abiding the highest good? And that is alluding to, to what I put, I am still in the page 5 of your handout, the Tashme, the great learning, when it is said, the way of the great, learning, counseling, in manifesting wise, bright virtue. We saw that last time, Mingmington, consists in loving the people, taking care of the people, you know, and consists in stopping only in perfect goodness, not to stop before to be at the perfect goodness. So, more than 1,000 years later, yes, more than that, it's 15th, 16th century later, Wyoming developed that and say the highest good is the ultimate principle of manifesting character and loving people. You know, so the nature endowed in us by heaven is pure and perfect. Ah, okay, it's good. The fact that it is intelligent, clear, and not beclouded is evidence of the emanation and revelation of the highest good. It is the original substance of the clear character, which is called innate knowledge of the good. You know? So, which is the main thing that we have here in Wyoming. How the highest good emanates and reveals itself, we will consider right as right and wrong as wrong. You're just this kind of evidence. So, things of things of greater or less importance and situation of grave or light character will be responded to as they act upon us. In all our changes and movements, we will stick to no particular point, but possess in ourselves the mean, using to the doctrine of the means balance, that is perfectly natural. So the mean which is perfectly natural is this as a center, to be centered, this ability to be in the center, which comes from the spontaneous activity of heaven in me. So this is the ultimate of the normal nature of man and the principle of things. There can be no consideration of adding to or subtracting from it. If there is any, it means selfish ideas and shallow cunning, and cannot be said to be the highest good. Naturally, how can anyone who doesn't watch over himself carefully when alone, that comes from the doctrine of the mean, John Young, and who has no refinement and singleness of mind, attain to such a state of perfection? Later generations failed to realize that the highest good is inherent in their own minds, but exercise their selfish ideas and cunning and grope for it outside their minds, believing that every event and every object has its own particular definite principle. For this reason, the law of right and wrong is obscure. The mind becomes concerned with like fragmentary and isolated details and broken pieces. The selfish desires of man become rampant, and the principle of nature is at an end. The Tianli. So, sure, I put that because it was very difficult to speak of SHAN, the concept of SHAN in Chinese, without mentioning Wyoming. So we've developed all this intuitive approach of the highest, what is called the SHAN, the highest good. Okay, so fine. Yeah. So do you have a question? Oh, you can reactivate your mic if you have a question or to write it.
Hey, Elisabeth, I was wondering the passage before this very last one on page 9,
Yeah.
the middle paragraph when we talk about incipience.
Yeah.
Can you just elaborate a little bit more on that concept of incipience?
The problem is that I put this sentence for those who follow this, the webinar of incipience. And it's a whole class of incipience.
Oh, okay.
You can get it. You can still get it. You can still get it. I will give you the link. You can buy it at the European School of Acupuncture.
Okay.
I think so. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think
Okay.
so.
Great.
But yeah, but I'm sorry because it's a full concept by itself.
Okay.
So I just wanted to make a kind of bridge for
Okay.
those who follow it. As for instance, Zoe did it, or some others. But, yeah, okay, George also. So, yeah, so sure, several areas. So
Okay.
just to facilitate, but I just cannot. It's a little bit too complex to in 5 minutes. It's not
Okay.
enough.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Okay. Hey, Yossi, you have your video back?
Oui.
Oui.
Sur l'ordinateur, je ne pouvais pas me joindre. Donc.
Oui, si tu l'es sur la... Mais fais attention aux interférences.
Oui.
OK. Donc, tu n'as pas de questions? Est-ce que tu as des questions que tu as reçues?
Non.
Non. Bon. Voilà. Pas de questions? So, no question? So, I just tell you, you receive the program of the SOEL that I will start next Monday. And you can still, if you're interested, you can still come to register to this beginning of the study of the SOEL.
I will send the papers to all the participants about the SOEL.
Sure. Thank
I
you.
received an email from Robin that the SOEL class
This is, yeah.
postponed.
No, not the SOEL. Just the class that we, on the 4th season and the 5 elements that was due to yesterday, we did not have enough people. So we just, because the situation is such a mess presently, so we decided to postpone to January 11.
Okay.
Yeah, if
okay.
you can buy some time, sure. But we maintain the SOEL. We maintain the 4 Mondays on the SOEL chapter 1.
Okay.
Yes, but sorry, Elizabeth, but after that, I got very, very nice information from Robin for the SOEL, and I posted it to the group in Facebook, but I forgot to send it to you. Sorry, I will send it.
I have the information, so okay.
Yes, yes, but there is a very, very nice information in the Facebook group, and Robin made a very nice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Fine.
So I do a mailing list for all of Elizabeth's classes. If you want to be on it, send it to me that you want to be on it, mjw3511@gmail. But I've gotten questions about the SUN classes because these classes that Yossi is doing here, there is a variable cost on them. Is it also true for the classes that Robin is doing?
A variable what?
Cost. Some people.
No, not for the SOEL.
It's not for the SOEL.
No.
Okay. The other questions I keep getting from people are, do we get continuing education for this? And I'm pretty much
yes, of course.
No. Is it continuing education in California?
Of course, it's written. I see it is written in the information. Yes.
I guess it isn't because I keep getting questions. I will. Thank you.
Some people they don't read. They don't read sometime until the bottom of the page.
Yeah.
I am pretty sure.
Thank you.
That I put it somewhere, or we put it somewhere. But yes, normally you have CEU. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you have to apply for it by certain amounts of time, and everything is a little off. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you for this.
Thank
this
you.
is wonderful.
Thank you. Okay, fine. Good. See you in 2 weeks.
Thank you. Thank you. See you in 2 weeks. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye, Elizabeth.
Bye-bye. Thank you, everybody.
What time is it? Oh, we still have time. Oh,
Yes.
Just
We have
I was
about
rushing.
18
I was
minutes.
rushing, but yes. Okay, but that's fine. That is fine. I was just rushing because I thought that it was later. Sorry. But it's good. Okay.
It's good by definition. It's good for today.
Oui, je pense que c'était suffisant, ça allait. Ah ben oui, j'ai mal lu le truc. Bon, bah c'est pas grave, j'avais laissé du temps pour des questions. Hein. Bon, mais ça va, c'est bien, c'est correct. Bon, Yossi, ça va?
Oui.
Bon, donc
Tu
c'est
veux
bien,
continuer encore un peu ou?
Ben non, parce qu'il y a des gens qui sont partis, donc on va arrêter. Mais c'est
ok.
de ma faute. Puis il y aurait eu des questions, on aurait continué sur les questions, quoi. Mais
Okay. Maybe maybe if you have some questions, you can write to Elisabeth. You have the email of Elisabeth. And so we will take next time for question and answers. So if you have some question after reflection and thinking about the things that we heard today, you can write it to Elisabeth and she will refer it next time.
How do we go about getting the certificate for CEUs for this course?
For which course?
For this class that we just took.
Yes, I think it is through a TCM, no?
Yeah, we TCM Academy.
It's through TCM Academy.
So do they automatically send it, or do we need to email them?
I don't think that you automatically send it. I think that you have to ask them.
Yes, it's not automatically.
Sure, because there is a lot of people, they are not in the US, so they don't care to have the US credit.
Okay, thank you.
So I see that, but I just, yes, so you have to ask them, I think. Yeah. Did someone already ask them for a credit? No? Zoe?
No, it wasn't listed on there as being available, but I didn't know.
I didn't know exactly because a guy driver, is the one who is taking care of that, so.
Not a big deal. I'll email him and ask. It's well worth the time regardless, but it would be nice to get credit too.
Yeah, that I just don't know exactly what you have, because I see that with the recording there is some credit, so they will give it to you, but I think that you have to ask them, definitely.
Okay.
Il y a une question ici, si tu veux.
Oui, le double bright of the Tauteting 27.
Voilà.
Sure, I said that I could not elaborate, but yes, it's something. It's I will take this the text. Page 7. Yeah, which is which is translated here by this is called double light, and it's something which is quite difficult because in other translation of the Tao Te Ching, it may be translated differently, depends how you translate the character that you have just before the character Ming, of this character. It is double bright, or some, for instance, Ham's translation is natural acuity, double bright, for instance, is natural acuity, so which is another translation, but it turned about the meaning of this character here, which has the meaning of the linen of clothes. When you have as two clothes, one on the other one. Yes, two. That's two. So you put an underclothes, for instance, and an overclothes, So you have these kind of things. Sure, what is this kind of light, this kind of brightness, this kind of discernment or enlightenment, which is double, or which is able to cover absolutely anything, you know? Sure. What is to the inside as well as what is towards the outside, you know? I think that it is a way to say brightness or light which is able to understand and to go to all the layers of the understanding to see what is obvious or apparent as well as what is hidden and not visible with the eyes. So it's so now we may have other translation also, but for instance, is both translation by Henricks and Ebbs. It's more this idea that we have, and I quite like this kind of translation because of the interpretation of these two characters. You know, so it's is it good enough for you?
Is it something to do with consciousness or awareness?
Something to do with Ming, you know, this kind of light or enlightenment, yes. And after that, the other character is quite difficult to understand, absolutely. I think that one of the good way to understand it is the one that I just explained, to have this kind of ability to see what is visible for the eyes as well as what is invisible for the eyes, you know. So this is
I get it.
how I understand the character. Yeah, but yeah, it's I will see if I found something better here. Yeah. Let's see if I have a good English word for this one. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, it's a possibility. You know, because it is a character which is quite difficult here. Where it is.
What's the Chinese?
She. Sorry, I will come back on the screen. Yeah, share screen. Yeah, this character.
Right, I know the character. I just wondered. It's easier to look it up.
Which is she. You know, the pronunciation is she. And as I told you, yes, it's to have two layers of clothing. You know, an overcoat. You know, and that you put on your normal coat. And it's repeat double, you know. So, but you may have a lot of other meanings. For instance, this character, she, you may understand also it as to continue, you know, to join, to associate, to go along with, or to accept, to receive, you know, or to hide, to cover. So you may have translation to it to cover your life, but doesn't make a lot of sense, or to accept and to receive the real light, you know. So which is another way to understand. But I think the best understanding is really to have this Ming, this light, this enlightenment, which is as this double aspect of visible and invisible, overclothes and underclothes. Or like really conform to the light that we can receive, so which is almost the same thing. You know? Okay.
It can be understood like covered, like false, Like something that is not
It is a
truth?
possibility, because if you have an overcoat, your overcoat just hide the clothes that
like
you
a
have.
mask.
No. So you may have also this meaning for this character she, which is to cover and so to hide. But here it looks a little bit more difficult to understand than to hide your light. You know, but you may have that in some translation, yes. But it's more difficult for me to explain what it means. I prefer, for instance, this doubly or bright or natural acuity. You know, it's certainly closer to the meaning. OK?
Il y a encore une question,
oui?
si tu as envie, de Patricia.
Oui. Patricia?
Yes. Avant la dernière, elle écrit last time.
Pivot. I would like an example from your modern life in which you refer to a pivot in your present time impossible. Yes, pivot. Yeah. I don't know, because problem that I will have when we have the pivot of the way. If I think last time it was rather related to what is called the pivot of the way, and in this situation when you can see everything, but when you can see everything, you don't see everything specifically, you know. And you know, there is moment of life. It's close also to the intuition. We come back to this concept of intuition. Yeah, but you have to be careful about the definition of intuition, but that's something which is coming to your mind. But something can come to your mind only if you open the door or you open the orifices of your heart, you know. So, and when you are wide open to what is, and in this case, you are like a center of the center of everything. Everything is merging in you, in a way. And there is a moment like that, you don't know why or how, but you know exactly what is the situation, even without analysis or considering it. And you say something to someone, for instance, and it's exactly that. It's here the pivot has in this meaning of being so much in the center of everything that you have no obstacle to whatever is coming to you from any direction or any things. So you are open to all winds, but in the same time you are motionless in a way, because you are centered and rooted. So yeah, so you can receive all the winds, and you receive them, and they come in you, and something come back to you. You emit something from all what you have received, which is the right thing. I think it's something like this kind of movement that we find in the text of the Transes, speaking of the pivot of the way. And it's very difficult to explain or to say, because, yeah, there is a moment like that. It's never perfect, but there is a moment where, oh yeah, it's obvious. Just, oh yeah. And we say, or we do something. We don't know why exactly, but it was totally appropriate. Okay? Where are you? Okay?
You can unmute, Patricia. You can unmute yourself.
I'm sorry. I was curious, if perhaps impertinent, to wonder about a time that happened to you, that you were unpivoted and suddenly became pivoted. And I was curious if you could tell us an example in your life or someone else's life that you saw that. So that brings it down to the ground.
Yeah. Somebody else's life, I don't know, I don't dare. It might have taken some time, but it's just like that. You don't know from where it comes. So it's very difficult to say. But I am with someone and I told this person something which is exactly the right thing, but I did not know that it was the right thing. And I did not say that because I thought that it was the right thing. I say it because it comes like that. And certainly it's a moment where perhaps you have not a lot of things in mind and you don't try. But I just don't know. Because it's when you play music, when you are playing the music, not studying or practicing, but playing. After that, if you have to explain why you play like that, you cannot. You know, you can say things, but that's never what it was. And it's never the reason. So when we are in this kind of things with a kind of intuition or a pivot, this kind of direct connection, it's like that. What happened, we can never describe it as it was really, because we enter in the opposite. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. Very tap about once when working with person said you always tap about your mom. What about your dad? It turns out to be a that test. No, why was that? Yes, sure. Yeah, Jen says something. Yeah, why not? It might be that, but we don't know. We are never sure. No? We cannot know for sure how and why it comes. It came. Yeah. But it's quite a good example, yeah. It is in the chat. Can you read it?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Why not? You have another question? Okay. So Yossi?
Oui, je pense que c'est bon.
Oui, je pense que c'est bon.
So thank you everybody to come, to be here with us. And I say again, if you have a question, please write it to Elisabeth to her email that I wrote before. So she will answer at the beginning of the next session. And we'll tell you good evening to everybody. Or good morning, evening. I don't know, it depends where.
Or good afternoon.
Good. The most important, it will be good.
Good, it's good. Good.
And see you next time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye. Hello, להתראות. Bye-bye. Ciao. Keep peace, Iris.
Keep peace.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have enlightened cats.
Yeah, absolutely. I enjoy it.
Yeah, my cat used to listen to
our classes. Yeah.
When Elisabeth would be in the house, the cat would sit there and absorb it.
Oh yeah. And
yeah, they come over. They come over and sit next to me to listen to Elisabeth.
Yeah, exactly.
And what about Lucy? Where is Lucy?
She's upstairs. It was a difficult day. We had a hurricane come through this morning.
Oh yeah, it's Isaiah, no?
Yeah.
It's a storm.
It was pouring, but we didn't have a lot of wind, but it was so wet. It was really hard to walk.
Yeah, yes.
It was flooding.
I saw floods in Georgia.
Yeah, flooding. Yeah.
In North Carolina, yeah.
Yeah. Well, here too. I mean, small floods here, but the street was like a river.
Okay.
But it's blue skies now.
Yeah, me too. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Yossi, ça va? Tu veux qu'on se parle? On se parle à notre maman? Comment tu veux faire? Ça va?
Demain, ou je sais pas, moi je suis là.
Demain, oui.
Demain, après-demain, moi je suis là de toute façon.
Oui, il faut que je vois. Attends, demain, je sais plus ce que je fais. Ah oui, demain, oui, je suis là demain après-midi. Oui, il n'y a pas de problème.
D'accord.
Tu me dis quand tu veux, hein. Voilà.
D'accord.
Tu me dis, tu m'envoies comme ça, on se fixe une heure, puis je suis
Super.
là. Hein?
On s'améliore.
Voilà. On va s'améliorer.
On s'améliore. On s'est amélioré.
On s'est déjà amélioré, oui.
Ah oui.
Là, j'ai confondu l'heure. Je ne pensais pas avoir le temps et en fait, j'avais plein de temps. Enfin, c'est idiot. Mais ce n'est pas grave. Pour moi, c'était bien, c'était pas trop chargé.
Oui, super. Très bien.
Qu'est-ce que je vais dire? Oui, et je t'envoie le lit, là, l'Éric, j'ai pratiquement fini.
D'accord.
Voilà.
Super.
Ok.
Allez, je t'embrasse.
Voilà. Je t'embrasse. Ciao, Iris.
Bye
Ciao,
bye.
Adolfo. Ciao.